Welcome to another edition of Believe in Giants, along with two-time Super Bowl champion Carl Banks. I'm Bob Papa. The Giants with a win on Sunday against the Raiders. Raiders coming off a bye. Giants take care of business, and, we're back and better than ever. Basketball season, prop odds, you name it. Bet Online, your number one spot for all basketball and football action this season. And I'm going to give you a special promo code a little bit later in the show where you could save a few bucks as a welcome addition. Carl, this Giants team, it wasn't pretty, but one of the things that I looked at going into this game, the Raiders were 29th in the NFL in run defense. And I thought Jason Garrett and this staff came up with a game plan that enabled the Giants to play to their profile for this week. And it certainly worked for them because they won the football game.
Yeah, it did, Bob. But, I think it's important that phrase profile, play to their profile. I think it's important that, some of the fans understand what the Giants' profile is and what that means when you play to it. They ran the football because they had to run the football. Their profile means, what do they have available to them? What can they have some success with without exposing all of their weaknesses? So if they can stay within or on schedule with their offense, it would not expose their offensive line to the two really good pass rushers that the Vegas Raiders had. So when we look at the Giants' third down efficiency,
6 of 12,
50%. Third downs of 8 or more yards, they were, 2 of 3?
Yeah, they did well. They stayed out of a lot of third and longs in this game.
So that's profile, meaning once they got in third and longs, Bob, they were going to be susceptible to the two pass rushers that still had an impact on this game, but they did not wreck the Giants because the Giants weren't in long yards, drop back pass situations. So the profile that they see themselves as now, run the football, use the tight ends as much as possible to keep drives alive. I don't know what the catches were, but I know the tight ends factored in. Number one, their touchdown was Evan Ingram. Caden Smith had a couple.
Well, Rudolph had 2. Ingram, I think, had 3. That's what they did, and then they threw to the backs.
Right. So people are saying, well, Jason Garrett could have opened this offense up more. If the only thing Jason Garrett would open the offense up to, had he started to try to air the ball out, was his quarterback getting sacked. And, the one turnover they had was, yes, Daniel Jones in the pocket, probably could have had a bit more pocket awareness, but his left tackle got beat and the ball comes out. He gets hit, ball comes out, fumble. So that's the profile of this offense. The defense. People say, well, we're so sick of the Giants giving up all these yards and in this soft zone defense. Understand what the profile is and what they need to do to win games against teams that like to go deep. And newsflash, folks, it's a copycat league. You're starting to see it all over the league now. All of these high-flying offenses, they may be putting up a lot of yards, but they're not getting a lot of points. Another low-scoring game for Kansas City. A very low-scoring game for the Rams, right? Both teams put up a ton of points this year. Well, here's the reason why. Because teams are not going to allow an offense to get a safety running through your defense. A wide receiver running through your defense with a safety trying to cover it. That's over now. They're going to play 2 deep, 3 deep, 4 deep. So the Giants' profile defensively, stop the run, stop the deep passes, and tackle. Now, the Giants did a lot of that right, but the one thing that really stood out to me, and I was, a little bit surprised, and I said it on air, and this is somebody I like a whole lot and respect a whole lot, but James Bradberry can't put that tackling effort on tape ever again. I mean, there were times he missed some tackles, and I know cornerbacks aren't ferocious tacklers, but he had a few where he just did not look interested in tackling anymore. And it's tough. They got a tough runner in I keep going to say Oakland, in Las Vegas. But you know what? Every once in a while, you got to make that tough play. You can't put it on film. As good as you are, good a talent as you are, you can't put that on film for two reasons. Your teammates. You don't want your teammates to see that. Like, I will contrast his effort on a missed tackle with the effort of Logan Ryan, someone else I have a great deal of respect for, as leaders of their team. Logan Ryan gets stiff-armed one play. Another play, he misses a tackle, gets back up, gets back into play, right? Another time, guy tries to stiff-arm, he gets on a key third down, grabbed him, held onto his jersey, and got him to the ground. That's the effort.
Listen, he made the play, that play by Logan Ryan.
The third down play, was it?
Might have been the play of the game. There's 10:15 to go in the game. Giants lead 20-16. It's 3rd and 6 at the Giants 10. Carr is got all day to throw. He checks it down to Jacobs in the left flat. Jacobs makes a move on Logan Ryan to try to spin forward, and Logan Ryan gets enough of him and grabs the jersey because he doesn't get a clean hit on him. He's kind of missing the tackle, but he gets his hand on the jersey and he yanks him down. And then Carlson misses the 25-yard field goal. If he doesn't make that play, Jacobs probably goes into the end zone for a touchdown.
Yeah.
If not, he's getting the first down. And who knows? I mean, if the Raiders score a touchdown there and take the lead, who knows what happens with the rest of this football game, because it's not like the Giants were just ripping off chunk plays against them offensively. So that play that you're mentioning from Logan Ryan, that is effort. That's fighting, that's heart, and that's what you have to do to win games. It doesn't show up in the box score. A lot of people probably forgot about it. It
shows up on film. It shows up on film in your defensive back room. It shows up on film in your linebacker room, your defensive line room, and your group team defensive room. Those are the plays that get highlighted. And
as you go to this point about Bradberry's tackling, and we don't want to be a Debbie Downer for Giants fans.
No, I'm not, because, and this is, I'm saying to this audience the exact same thing I would say to Bradberry, because I think he's too good and too talented and too important to the team. And I'm only saying this in terms of his importance and his leadership to the team, what it means when he puts something like that on tape for his teammates to see.
So can you take our audience through what it's like the day after a game when there's tape review? Like, the whole team's sitting there, right?
Yeah, the whole team sits there. There are highlights and there are lowlights, even in victory, right? And I know Patrick Graham will, when he gets his team in the defensive meeting room, like Coach Judge may not point this out, but he may. But I know when Coach Graham gets him in that defensive meeting room, he's going to run that back a few times. There was the one on the sideline where Bradberry missed, and the back was, I think it was the back or Waller, about to go into the end zone, and they had about 3 or 4 other guys that finally get him down, and Bradberry just kind of walks. He gets up and just walks towards the pile. That will be highlighted in their team meeting room. And again, because James is such a good player and such an important player to this Giant defense, the ask is not to be the most ferocious tackler, right? The ask is for the effort. It's just like when he said in his post-game interview, he got beat on the out and up, and Xavier McKinney saved his life, right? He had no problem admitting to that. But we won't criticize James for getting burnt because he got back into play. So if McKinney did not make that interception, James was probably going to make the tackle. So the effort has to show up in both the pass game and the run game. Give the effort that your teammates will say, we got your back, bro, because that's what McKinney said to him on that out and up. I got your back. And the way this defense is playing and the brotherhood that you can start to see radiate amongst these players on the field, you can't be that guy. Not you. You're too good of a football player, and the effort is what they want to see. Nobody, you're not going to be Leonard Williams tackling somebody. We know that. But give your teammates the effort, and they got your back. So that's the one thing that I would say to James. I would say it to his coach. I'd say it to the coordinator, anyone. So I'm not saying anything that I wouldn't say to him in person, because the level of respect that I have for him is that, I would expect him to be better on a few of those plays and not look disinterested when, you miss a tackle. Just show the effort and your teammates will have your back. That's what good defenses do. The other one is Adoree Jackson. Forget what they say you can't do. You're too good of a cover guy to let teams off the hook by not getting better at catching the football. It's just that simple. Like, you can't let teams off. This is the second time with Jackson that a missed interception resulted in some sort of points, right? Didn't that missed interception result in a field goal?
Mm-hmm.
So, again, you're a really good cover guy. I know they say you've only had 5 interceptions in your whole career. It's not too late.
2
interceptions in your whole career.
They came in 2018.
So it's not too late to be a better contributor to an emerging defense, a defense that's really starting to put an imprint on their opponents. So whatever it takes, and I'm not saying it's for lack of effort. I know you don't want to miss interceptions, drop interceptions. But again, being successful, you have to be intentional about it. You can't go through the motions after practice catching balls. Create scenarios for yourself. Get one of those high jump mats that the receivers used to have, and just go diving and somebody shoot balls at you and catch them. Just don't do routine things. I don't know what you do and what you don't do, but it's not too late to add that phase to your game, because again, you're let teams off the hook when you don't catch the football, and it normally results in points. Like the way your defense plays, and if you're going to yield some yardage but not touchdowns, you can take points off the board by being able to catch the football. So again, I'm not saying anything to someone publicly that I wouldn't say to them personally, because again, this is out of respect. This is out of the possibility of you guys doing more and more great things as a defense. So, and it's not lip service either. I mean it when I say it. Get better at it. You're too good in coverage and get yourself in too many good positions to impact plays for your team. And then if, when players say, well, they could have scored more points. Well, yeah, maybe if they get an interception or two, they got 2, probably could have had, well, I know they could have had 1 more with Adoree Jackson. So That's what I got in terms of, what the Giants profile is and how they have to play to their strengths and limit their weaknesses. And this soft zone or this cover two, just understand the downside to that is teams are going to run the ball a little bit. And you just got to be able to make tackles, because the 10 yards in today's league with the way offenses are set up, 8 and 10-yard plays and 20 and 15-yard drives is not how some of these teams are built. Mistakes will happen somewhere in that drive. And if you can tackle, if you can limit the runs. Now, I'm from a different school, so we didn't believe in people running at all, no matter what coverage we had, but they're not the same. But if you can limit those runs to 7s, 5s, 8s maybe, but you can't give up 20-yard runs. You can't give up, 12-yard runs because that gets the ball down the field in a hurry. So you got to be able to tackle. And when I say 12 and 20-yard runs, that means when first contact is somewhere around 5 yards, the guy's running for another, 10 or 12 yards. Can't do that.
Carl, I want to talk about some subtle coaching moves that happen during the course of the week, because at the end of the day, this is a production business.
Yep.
And we saw Quincy Roche. Quincy Roche is a rookie out of Miami. He got the sack and the forced fumble to seal the deal. He was a 6th round pick this year of Pittsburgh. Didn't make their team, was put on waivers. The Giants claimed him along with a bunch of other people that they claimed. And, if you notice, not just this week, but even last week against Kansas City, they're giving him a lot more burn. And I think it's, O'Shane Ximines is a healthy scratch. Ximines is a 3rd round pick from 2019. Missed most of last year with a shoulder injury. Had 4.5 sacks as a rookie. This year, he's kind of been non-existent. A couple knockdown passes. He's got 3 batted down passes. And really his defining moment this year is jumping off sides against Kansas City on what could have been a Darnay Holmes interception that changed the fate of that game. He was a healthy scratch. I give the coaching staff credit in the sense that, when you have draft picks on your roster, they get the benefit of the doubt, but, they're trying to win a football game and they healthy scratched him. And Roche, for his shortcomings that he had in the game, although it's not like he was perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but he makes the play that seals the game for the football team. Meritocracy, that's what they always talk about as far as the NFL. At some point, doesn't matter where you got drafted, if you don't produce, you're not going to play. And I think that's a very important message out of all of this.
You're 100% correct. And the scholarship mentality, just because you're drafted and you're not producing doesn't mean you get a jersey every Sunday. So I thought that was an important message. I don't think it was a penalty from jumping off sides in the Kansas City game, but clearly they saw more in practice this week from Roche than they did Ximines. So should light a fire under him to practice better, to work harder. Again, we don't know the insides of it, but he was a healthy scratch as far as we know. There was no injury reported. So obviously the Giants could use as many pass rushers as possible, all hands on deck. But, the one thing about Quincy Roche is that, look, the Giants weren't getting the pass rush the entire drive.
Entire game.
Yeah. But, I listened to Roche after the game. He said, I wanted to change it up a little bit. I had been giving the guy power rush, and then I wanted to see if I can get him with speed. He not only generated a holding call, but he got a sack and a fumble. So that's the type of effort that you need from your high draft choices, your guys off of waivers. If you're on the field, there has to be an expectation within a defense, especially one that's playing well, that you play well because you expect to play well. And he contributed. So for guys like Zimenez, I mean, you've been around for a couple of years now. It's time to hit the consistency button. You're either going to be a consistent guy that they can count on, or you're going to be consistently a guy that they can't. But you can't be in between, because healthy scratches is not something that you should want, or you should even have the coaches considering. You got to compete.
And I give them credit for going with Corey Cunningham as the sixth offensive lineman. He got 13 snaps of the possible 56 offensive snaps that they ran in the football game. And Colin Johnson, who's not going to scare you as a receiver, he was in there in 21% of the snaps, because Colin Johnson is by far their most physical, best run blocker of their wide receivers. So, to their credit, we go back to the opening theme of playing to your profile. They gave guys snaps that were going to help them play to their profile.
They did. And, if you said we're going to be physical, how can we best do that? And that's a coach too, coaching to what he says he wants to do. We want to run the football. Okay. Coordinators, assistant coordinators, tell me our best options to run the football. Okay, we need to get an extra running back in. We need, an extra lineman in. We need to get a wide receiver who can block, and this is who we're going to be. It won't be pretty, but let's see. Nate Solder had some really good blocks in this game. So you don't want to expose Nate Solder to some things that he struggles with. Start running the football so that when you have to pass, it's going to be quick sets, short drops, balls out, because you don't have a lot of yards to gain. So I thought, just in terms of understanding the personnel, committing to what you were doing, and the players executing that, I thought they did a fine job against a team that's basically a playoff contender.
Yeah, they were the top team in their division. They were coming off a bye. They score a lot of points, and they get after the quarterback. They led the NFL going into this weekend in quarterback hits. Crosby led the NFL in quarterback hits. As a team, they had 61. And Ngakoue, who had the sack and forced fumble, led the NFL and going into this weekend in quarterback hurries. So they knew that they were dealing with a double-edged sword, and they're going to have to deal with some tremendous pass rushers when they play their next game in Tampa against the Bucs, which this is not a preview. We'll give you a preview when the time comes. But this team really needs Andrew Thomas back. Because I think one of the problems that they're having, Carl, is they got to spend so much currency in helping Chip on both sides.
Yeah.
Everything's got to come out fast. Everything's got to be quick. You can't really use Kadarius Toney or Golladay as far as trying to develop anything deep, because there's just no time to do it. Even when they had Cunningham in the game and they had been running the ball, and they showed run and Jones play action because they had a one-man route with Golladay.
Yeah.
Jones was under pressure then. So,
yeah, and that's the thing. So, when teams can get the Giants behind the sticks, they know they got an opportunity to get to the quarterback. And this was off of a play action pass, and they
on a 1st and 10.
Yeah. So they treated that like a 3rd and 10, basically. And then I want to take a look at, before we go, the job that they did on Darren Waller. Now, Waller had some catches, but his impact on the game, I think he had one big catch, but his impact on the game was not great.
He had 7 for 92. His long was 24. They didn't give up a pass play of over 30 yards in the game.
Yeah, so I thought, in terms of containing him, their best threat, because they were out, they were without their receiver, I thought they did a decent job of, especially in key moments. Now, he had one big play for them, but in key moments when they needed to get him, they didn't. Now, he caught, they put up 400 yards of offense. So he caught his share of footballs, but under 100 yards again for a tight end, or let's just say for a key wide receiver. Last week it was Tyreek Hill under 100 yards receiving. This week it's Waller under 100 yards receiving.
Yeah, I thought they did a really nice job for the most part. And again, they're playing a defense that's appropriate for what they have. They have no pass rushers in the sense that, look, Ojulari has 5.5 sacks. He's a young player that they're developing, and I think he could be a really good player. Carter was hurt, who's a guy that could give you some pressure off the edge, but they don't have a Crosby. They don't have an Ngakoue.
No.
They don't have a JPP. They don't have what some of these other teams have, guys that command double teams, that command respect, and that you're going into the game fearing them. Leonard Williams is the Giants' best interior, front seven defensive player that they have. Which, by the way, can I go to a Leonard Williams point? Remember all the heat that Leonard Williams was taking?
Uh-huh.
Well, quietly, Leonard Williams is putting together another really good season. I mean, last year he had, I think, 57 tackles. He had 11.5 sacks. He had 30 quarterback hits. Now, he's probably not going to get to 30 quarterback hits this year. And I think some of that's a function of Dalvin Tomlinson not being there.
Right.
But he's got 50 tackles. He has 5.5 sacks with 8 games to go. He's got 10 quarterback hits, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery. He's got 5 tackles for losses. So it's, this narrative, too, that he's been a waste is just really not true.
Yeah, far from a waste. Come on. I mean, he's
fans always equate his contract
to sacks
with his production and to sacks.
Mm-hmm.
But he's on pace. He's on pace to hit last year's numbers in a lot of categories.
Yeah, he's been a consistent contributor. I think Dexter Lawrence is quietly impacting this defense as well. So look, they're onto something good with their efforts on defense and the way they're playing and the way Coach Graham has them playing. Now it's just a matter of guys staying locked in. If they stay locked in, they'll continue to have success. I think they had some learnings from the first couple of games with Denver and with the Rams, and I think and even in Washington, what they learned is that offenses want to do certain things in this league, and some aren't patient enough to do whatever it takes. Their profile is, chunk plays and high scoring, and they don't want to change what their profile is based on in-game conditions. And the Giants understand what their profile is, and they're not trying to be something they're not. You're going to have to be better than them to beat them if they don't beat themselves. Meaning, if they stick to their profile and they're executing that, and the talent takes over from the other side, then you tip your hat. But if they don't do the things to beat themselves and they become hard to beat for their opponent, there are going to be opportunities for them to win every game.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at their remaining schedule, their final 8 games, I mean, look, are they going to be punching up in weight class against the Cowboys? Yes. Okay. Yesterday was just a mess for the Cowboys. Denver went in there and took care of them. But I think you and I believe that Dallas is still a really good team. So that's punching up in weight class. The Chargers, they came east yesterday. They had a life and death battle with Philadelphia. So that'll be, you're going to be playing them on the road. So that's a little punch up in weight class. But then you've got Miami. You've got 2 against Philadelphia. You got to play Washington one more time. You got to play the Bears. I mean, it's not as if that they can't finish this season on a pretty good note. Now, they need Andrew Thomas back desperately.
Yeah.
They need to get Saquon Barkley back in the lineup desperately, because it just creates it creates a weapon for them that that other teams have to really worry about.
Yeah.
But there's some opportunities here. And again, we were in that stadium yesterday. So I'll paint the picture, man. We're at the 50-yard line in MetLife Stadium. It's like one of the best spots that you're going to get from a broadcast spot in the National Football League. They did it right when they built that part of the stadium. And, we got the open air windows. So the windows are open. You can feel the crowd. You can feel when it's bad. You can feel when it's good.
There we are.
Yeah. There you go. Hey, that's good. Very nice. So that's where we are, looking out that window. And Carl, I mean, yeah, for anybody to say that, yeah, man, I want Gettleman gone. I want Garrett gone. The Maras and the Tishes, they got to make big time changes. Look, they're going to make changes regardless, because this product that they have, I think they felt it was going to be better. They're tired of losing. Great. So they finished the season 8-9 or whatever it is, 17-game schedule. They go 4-4 the last 8 games or whatever it is. 5-3. Their expectation, they're tired of losing and having losing seasons. Don't root for losses if you're a fan. I don't think anything can happen at this point that's going to make people say, you know what, we're good going in. We're good going in next year.
Right.
We're good going in. You know what? We're going to just stay on this course. No, they need pass rushers. They need help at linebacker. The offensive line hasn't been fixed in 4 years. It's still a mess. Injuries notwithstanding. So just root for wins, man. That's why you're a fan of the team. That's why you buy these jerseys, man. You're rooting for the team to win. You want to see this guy do good. You don't want to go back in the quarterback market.
Look at the Jets. Not knowing what the quarterback market is going to yield this year or the next. So, and your guy is more than adequate. Has a chance to be really good if you put the right pieces around him. I mean, the pass that Daniel Jones threw to Evan Ingram, the front pylon, was as good a throw as you're going to see in this league.
Yeah, and even Evan Ingram, man, I don't know what he's going to get on the open market or all that other stuff, but before and I know that he leaves you wanting more, but there's a lot of decisions that have to be made in the offseason, because you don't just everybody thinks you just replace guys, get rid of these guys, and you're going to go back and you're going to go get guys that are better. I mean, I'll use the Jets as an example. I mean, they were all in on Sam Darnold, and they got rid of him to draft another quarterback. And now you got people even questioning whether he's the right guy and the backups. I mean, in other words, it's not often that you go from Montana to Young, or you go from Favre to Rodgers, or in the Colts case, they went from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck. Like, that doesn't normally happen.
Right.
So I don't know. I fans root for wins, man. That energy in that building was great yesterday.
Yeah, and
especially at the end of the game.
Yeah, and then the thing is, you can root for losses, but nothing's going to change until the season's over with. So you're making yourself miserable and giving yourself, more stress talking about what needs to be done after every loss. Just understand, things are going to change. They don't want to be the same. So come in, root for it, knowing that things are going to get better, because they're going to make changes. We don't know what those changes are, but you can bet they're going to make changes. They want to upgrade this roster, like you said, Bob.
I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. And again, this whole thing about draft picks, it's about having the right people in place to evaluate the talent, to then pick the right players for your team. It doesn't matter how high they are, because I'll give you a perfect example. Yesterday during the game, a guy from the Raiders made a tackle. His name was Solomon Thomas. Does the name sound familiar? Solomon Thomas was drafted by the 49ers in 2017. They actually traded up when they didn't have to trade up. They took Solomon Thomas 3rd overall. You know who else was a non-factor yesterday? Remember, in the game, Darius Filion got hurt. He's a former 6th-round pick of the Chargers. He's starting up front for the Raiders. You know who he's starting in front of? He's starting in front of Cleveland Ferrell, who the Raiders took 3 years ago with the 4th overall pick in the draft. If you go to NFL.com or Pro Football Reference and you look back at past drafts and take a look at where some of these stud players were drafted, you don't have to be a top 5 pick or a top.
No.
Like this whole thing about, we got to be, it's going to, if we win this game, it's going to hurt our draft status. No, look at look at the teams that you played on. How many good players did George Young draft in the 80s, especially the first part of the 80s, first half of the 80s, even into even your 90s Super Bowl team. There was a lot of influx of drafted players that came in 85, 86, 87, 88 that replenished the tank. If you draft well, and you guys were not drafting early those years.
No, we weren't.
So it's about selecting the players. You don't need this whole thing of, we're going to get to draft higher. That doesn't mean anything if you got the wrong people picking the players.
Yeah, and by the way, a lot of the, some of the, if you're in a year where there's not a great amount of talent in the first round, then guys who would probably be later round picks get elevated, right? So you got to be careful how these guys are even evaluated. But look, the long story short, root for wins because change is coming anyway. Change is coming. They heard your message. And they're going to do everything possible to get this team better, especially if they continue to play well and start to stack wins. Then it only accelerates the need to get even better players on this route, as if it doesn't exist now. But if this team continues to figure it out defensively, become productive offensively, and saying, boy, if we could get X, Y, and Z, we'll be even better. And I think that's what you have to root for, because they'll make changes. They'll make even better changes if they're winning, because they know with the roster, even when healthy, they know what it is and they know what the deficits are. So if they're winning and they think they got a chance, which I know they do, to be better than they are, then they're going to do whatever is necessary to get those changes in place.
Fans, remember, BetOnline is your number one spot for all basketball and football action this season. I promised you the promo code. If you head to the new updated desktop or mobile website, sign up today, and you receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. So I know everybody's been waiting for this. Here it is. The promo code is BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your bonus. BetOnline, the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, Carl, what do you got for your bye weekend?
Well, we're going to tell a friend to tell a friend to tune into this podcast. And bye weekend, I don't know, man. Hopefully a whole lot of nothing. Some good food, some exercise, and a lot of nothing, and watch the rest of the league.
All right, I'm going to Phoenix on Wednesday.
Enjoy.
We got the Charles Schwab Cup Championship, which is the PGA Tour Champions final event. The top 36 players that have amassed the most points have made it.
Nice.
And believe it or not, when you have got Mickelson's playing, Ernie Els is playing, Retief Goosen, Steve Stricker, they all qualified for this, the top 36. But guess who is in the top spot?
Who?
He's got a couple 1,000-point lead over Jim Furyk.
Who, Lanny?
64-year-old Bernhard Langer is trying to win another Schwab Cup championship. If he wins this thing, considering the fact that Furyk is playing full-time on the PGA Tour Champions, he has this year, that Ernie Els and Retief Goosen have played full time. Now, Mickelson's only played a handful of events. Stricker's been in and out because of the Ryder Cup. You got
Right.
Fred Couples, Jerry Kelly, Miguel Angel Jimenez. Those guys all play pretty full schedules. The fact that a 64-year-old dude has a chance to win this thing again blows me away. So check out Golf Channel this weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and see if Father Time can pull it off. And as we get closer to that age, you find yourself pulling for him even more.
Yeah.
All right, tell a friend to tell a friend. For Carl Banks, I'm Bob Papa. Thanks for joining us for this week's edition of Believe in Giants.